not quite a decade, but about almost a decade. And that's when I started testosterone. And so the interim period between like, oh, I'm gender transgressive. Trans is the word people are using for that now, rather than baby butch or dyke, right? It was
Yes.
sort of people were morphing into this I don't know, sort of liminal space between, and I liked it there because I liked being other in some ways. I like being different from I'm not a crowd follower. I'm not necessarily a crowd leader. I kind of like to go off on my own and gather with a small group of people and we do our own thing.
Mhm.
And so that's how I saw this at the time, as it was this third space that I could occupy and meet some nice people and do some fun things in the world. But I was convinced at the time I wouldn't do testosterone, and that's mostly because I had really absorbed what I had heard coming from more separatist lesbian community, which is nicknamed like the man haters of the lesbian community. It's far and few between, but they do exist. I was sort of part of that community on the periphery, just because that's who had the fun lesbian vegetarian potlucks more often. And I was convinced that testosterone would make me angry and aggressive and
Aggressive. Yeah.
violent, right? Because the theory was that that's what made men aggressive, violent, and angry. It wasn't until I was 39 years old and I went to a talk that was given in San Francisco, where I was living at the time, at the main library in downtown in the Civic Center of San Francisco, in the main auditorium, which was standing room only. People were all in the back standing up, sitting in the hallways. It was definitely a fire code violation. And there was a doctor in the front of the room, Dr. Lori Carlson, I believe her name was, and she was a family medicine doctor, and she had been working with trans people at that point for like 12, 13, 14, 15 years. And she was there just to answer a question, all the questions about one topic, testosterone.
Wow.
So the room was filled with people who were on it, wanted to be on it, were considering going on it, and our family members, our partners, right, providers out in the community. What is testosterone? What does it do? What won't it do? And at the end of like an hour and a half to 2 hour lecture on testosterone, where she answered every single question in the room, I walked away going, oh, testosterone's not going to make me violent and angry and aggressive. It's actually called the peace hormone. It's more about hormones being in balance.
Hmm.
Right.
That's more important. And
Seems to
so
make you feel much better about yourself, actually.
yeah. So
As
I
a
took
person.
a, yeah. So I took a business card from her assistant, who was at the front of the room at the end. And I went home and told my wife, I'm going to start testosterone. I made an appointment.
Wow.
So that was when I was 39 years old. That's 18 years ago when I started testosterone. And so I've been on testosterone ever since. I have had top surgery / chest masculinization surgery / double mastectomy with reconstruction. It's known by a bunch of different names. I have had that surgery. And I've also had a hysterectomy, the full hysterectomy, right? They call it
Hmm.
so like
The ovaries are out too, all of it. Yes.
yeah, there's a name for it, like the salampingo oophorectomy, it's like
Ah, yes.
the medical term. Everything yanked out. Um, and then I've had what people would call like genital reconstruction surgery or bottom surgery or phalloplasty. I've had that surgery as well. So it's not as many people have had that final set of surgeries. But I did that back in 2008. So I did it quite a while ago, actually.
I
Okay.
have a couple questions for you, Xander. Because,
Yeah.
and retelling your story, as you said at the very beginning, there's more and more information that I learned just even this time around. So I wanted to mention something that you brought up before about it almost felt, and I don't want to botch this. So if I botch it, please correct me. But there was a feel there that it was almost easier rather than correcting people to just actually transition, that there was some masculinity, that you were already, that was already sort of a part of the way that you presented and were and existed. And that that didn't match being a woman, right? And so there was this tension, it seemed like, between and you just saying, at some point, I just got tired of it. I got tired of people saying it and thought it'd be easier to just. So I kind of wanted to poke that for just a moment, and then I wanted to
Yeah.
poke and yeah, go.
Can we do one at a time? I can't keep
Yes,
track of
please.
two.
I will.
Thank you.
I will make note of number 2.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Part of
Thank
the
you.
ADHD in me.
No, it's me too.
Because if then I'd write it down, but then I'd be looking over
Yes.
here, and
No,
that's not good for the viewers.
It's our job to write it down. We'll write it. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes. So gender nonconforming, very much a tomboy as a kid through my adolescence. Now, in my adolescence, I had really long, beautiful black hair that people loved my hair, wavy hair. If I cut it a little bit shorter, it'd be really curly. But I was, I was wearing jeans and polo shirts and Vans tennis shoes. I was in sports. I was an athlete. So I was track and field and I was playing soccer. So I was very sporty, right? Very athletic. So I wasn't what you would call like uber butch,
Mhm.
but I wasn't uber feminine. I was in that middle place. Again, I tend to occupy middle or third spaces in most ways. And so when I cut my hair shorter, right, I went into the military. I skipped over, I was in the military, but when I went into the military, my hair was cut shorter and I kept it short, and I've had it short ever since. No, I mean not this short. I didn't have it but so when my hair was cut really short, the frame of my body, somebody told me I'm built like a refrigerator. I'm very like, I have broad shoulders, and like I think my hips and my shoulders kind of align. I don't have a very wide hips or very narrow hips, which is typically considered more feminine,
Mhm.
right? And so and I'm 5'9", and so I sort of tower over a lot of the trans guys when I'm in trans guy space. And so that's how I was. So here I was, this more masculine presenting woman with short hair, getting surd all the time. It annoyed me at first, and then it really started to bother me because it was just going on and on for years. But it was more the instances that I encountered in spaces like going into the bathroom, right? So when I was in my late teens, early 20s was when I started to have people confront me in the women's bathroom. You're in the wrong bathroom. Get out of the bathroom. And, or people would have this look of terror on their face when they walked in and saw me, washing my hands or coming out of the stall or something. And so that was a bit grating. And if it happened once in a while, then I could probably live with it. But since it happened more regularly over the course of years and years and years, it did start to grate on me. And there's just so much I can do about teaching society to not treat masculine women in the bathroom that way. But what am I? I'm one person, right? And eventually, I was introduced to trans men initially through documentary. I watched a documentary called You Don't Know Dick. And that was in, I think, 1995 or 6. At a film festival, gay and lesbian film festival in San Diego. And I remember the year, it's got to be 1995 because it's before I went off to college in 1996. And so I was watching this documentary about these trans men, and it was like, oh, that's interesting. They took testosterone. Now they're living in the world as men, and they were masculine presenting as women too. And like, look how easy that is. And so that was always in the back of my mind, but again, this fear about what the testosterone would do. And as it just started to get, I don't know, build on me, maybe that's what people mean by microaggressions and there's that saying about the 10,000 cuts.
Yeah, death by 1,000 cuts, I think.
Right? It's like each instance, week after week, month after month, year after year, decade after decade. And I was just like, I'm sick of it. I don't want to deal with this anymore. If it's that easy to just take some testosterone and go live in the world as a man and not change how I dress, the kind of work I do, the way I am in the world, basically, if that's all I have to do to be able to just live my life in peace, then maybe that's what I'll do.